Hi everyone, I'm Sheila Kumar Hay of Ecstatic Birth, and today I am so excited to share with you a birth story and a virtual doula experience. In this time right now, many hospitals, many doulas are having to support their clients from afar. And I know the big question for a lot of people is like, how in the world is that going to work? And is it going to work? Because hands-on care is such a big part of doula care and support. So I'm really excited to have with me today Mary Callow, a doula working in Switzerland, and she recently had her first virtual birth supporting her clients from afar, and it went really well. So I invited her here to share that story with you. Hi Mary, thank you so much for coming today.
Sheila, nice to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
So when I read the words you wrote about the birth experience and how it felt to you as a doula, I was so touched and moved and just so excited because it's like, yes, we can do this. We can support our mamas. We can give them the support they need, the love they need. We can help them stimulate oxytocin flow in their bodies from afar. So I think the best place to start is just with your experience. What was it like having to support your client from afar, and how did that birth go?
The birth was amazing. Like I should say, completely rocked it. It wasn't planned. We didn't prepare. This was sort of at the beginning of all of this, the massive changes. And this client happens to be she's a serious planner. She contacted me 6 months before before her due date. And so the COVID-19 scenario really threw her for a loop. But we worked through various scenarios. She had an amazing first birth. She would have been medically a very good potential home birth client, but she didn't want to do that initially. And then with the onset of COVID-19, she decided, well, maybe I will. She has had a postpartum midwife here in Switzerland. You get to have a midwife come and visit you 10 times after the birth. And she happened to have a midwife who did that, as well as she also does home births, and she also does attends births in hospitals. And after all of this was happening, she just thought, maybe I should actually have a home birth. And it's a very difficult thing. Home birth is definitely something you should plan for and organize and really have in place all that you need to have in place. But she found a midwife who was really willing and able and there for her. So they had the pool set up. Everything was all set and ready to go. And then she found out, this midwife got her paperwork from the hospital and realized that she was GBS positive. And this was a client that, she loves the security of, the medical system. And so we had to respect that and figure out how to go with this. And she did her research, and for her, what was right was she really wanted the antibiotics. So she ended up literally, her waters broke. She found out on the day before she gave birth, she found out that she was GBS positive, and they ended up in the hospital. And they called me, super excited about a home birth. And then they called me and said they were on their way to the hospital. And I was like, good, great, this is fantastic. So we chatted for a while until we got cut off in the garage. And then I just said, I'm here for you. Sent a message saying, I'm here for you anytime, 24/7, just call. This was 9:30 at night. And I got a call at 1:30 in the morning, and we chatted. I got up and went down to my living room and lit a candle and just kind of set the mood, as makes me cry, as you would in a birth room. Yeah. And I get very emotional about it all. And I just held space. We just chatted for about a half an hour. She was in very early labor. They got there early. They wanted to set up. They wanted to make sure their son was organized at home. And so they weren't even really in labor when they called me the first time. But as labor began, they called me about 1:30 in the morning, and it was early for her. We chatted, just about what they'd done and just very basic stuff. And as we were chatting, I could tell that waves were setting in. And as the wave set in, we sort of effortlessly sort of drifted into silence, which is what I normally do in a birth. When things really get sort of serious, I don't really talk much. And there was, it was quite a sacred atmosphere. They weren't talking much. I had suggested a bath, and the water was running in the background, and she had been playing this amazing music. And so I was hearing water and music, and that's about it. And we were on the phone, there was nothing virtual. And so there I was in my living room with my candle in the dark and my phone. And I was just keeping notes on what I was hearing, just water running, a few words here and there. As she coped so beautifully, and her partner was quite quiet. The midwife hardly said anything. It was as if, they were in a cathedral. It was very, very sacred. And then all of a sudden, so that was about, that was 3:40 in the morning, when all of a sudden, about 10 minutes before that, really not very many, I began to hear sort of pushy noises. Very, normally we hear this, this sort of primal stuff that we normally hear. And it was so gentle, so quiet. And her first birth, she said that she was in San Francisco, and she said the window was open, and she knew that there must, she thought that neighbors must have been thinking that there was a murder going on in the room. That was not the same person I was hearing the night she gave birth the second time. She was very quiet. And all of a sudden I heard her say, "Oh my goodness, hello, baby." And I heard him give a sweet little giggle, and then there was a few words, but really it was all about just connecting and bonding. And they didn't know the gender of the baby, and it was a very sort of, just as it is, very quiet bonding time.
Wow.
So yeah, it was a really it always feels sacred, but I felt even more privileged to be there this time, because it was the first time, I think, that I certainly had ever done this. And I think it made it easier to think that it is possible.
Yeah.
And, video may be a little bit easier, but I didn't need to really be in the room. I knew I could imagine what was going on when it was happening. And I could, we had done so much work prenatally. And I think that's what's, really primary here is the work that we do prenatally with our clients, so that they are totally and completely feeling confident going in. And the partners, they know what they need to do. I have a really good midwife friend, and she says, the hardest part about my job is sitting on my hands. She's in the birth room, and she's sitting on her hands. She's just waiting for birth to unfold. And I think that if we empower our clients to really understand birth and really trust it, then they can do it. And we don't really need to be there, but it is so cool to be there.
There is so much I want to ask you, and so much I want to say, but before we fully dive into it, I just want to highlight that even while you were telling the story, we could feel those moments of sacredness. We could feel the privilege. We could feel that birthing field that you were in. And the reason I want to highlight that is because, whether you're watching now, whether you're watching later, the fact that you can feel that, and we're all virtual right now, is a testament to the fact that we are connected energetically, and we can do this virtually. While, you know, I'm sure every doula out there watching this wants to be in the room supporting their clients hands-on, like just the fact that with Mary telling her story in this way, that we can feel like the honor, the sacredness, the like just the reverence of the moment is should give you all hope that this is possible to do virtually. And I loved what you said. Actually, I wrote it down too, like when you said that your client was a planner, because I think, you know, preparation is key. It's really, really key. And I know that you shared with me, because of where you live, that you already have been doing a lot of the prenatal visits and birth prep virtually. So do you want to talk about that a little bit, what that's like?
Yeah, I live in the middle of nowhere in Switzerland, really. And about 40% of my clients are Swiss and about 60% international. And so I have to drive an hour to Zurich, 45 minutes to Basel, you know, sort of I'm within an hour, hour and a half tops of my clients. And so a lot of driving back and forth isn't really very practical for them or for me. And so I do a lot of the prenatal work virtually. I do visit them prenatally once in their home. And then of course the birth, I'm there in person, and then I do an in-person prenatal in their home. So I'm driving back and forth 3 times. But even the get to know you chat, we do virtually, and it's seamless, it's easy. I think people these days are very used, so women in that sort of childbearing age, they're very used to this virtual contact and are almost more comfortable with it than, you know, I think people in my generation. And so, I mean, I have clients who don't even like phone calls. They really prefer emails and, you know, even this sort of video chat. So I think it's, for this generation, it's easy peasy. It's like, it's just another step, really. So yeah.
So how do you help them prepare for their bodies ahead of birth, to prepare for the birth ahead of time?
Oh, we do a lot. Well, I mean, it's a mixed bag, as you well know. I mean, emotions play a massive part. So I want to help them understand what's going to come their way medically, so that they can be emotionally prepared for it in terms of, you know, their choices, informed choice. Then we work on the, you know, the fear release in a sort of hypnobirthing way to a certain extent. And then we do a lot of spinning babies. I'm a massive Gail Tully fan, and have hosted Jennifer Walker here in Switzerland a lot. And I think physically, you know, the mom's body, when she's balanced, the baby has a better way to get into the pelvis and to get ready for birth. So physically, that's and I'm a massage therapist by training, and so I really truly believe that our bodies play a massive part in how things unfold, the balance in our bodies. And I work a lot with essential oils, and you know, helping them to really just get in touch with their sensuality to a certain extent.
So I love this, and I wanted you to share this because I know every doula has a different kind of like toolkit, tool bag. But the fact that you do, I'm sure there are people watching that do similar things in different ways, but the fact that you do the bulk of this virtually, again, I just wanted people to take hope that like this works. You know, if you can't do in person, you can do this work virtually. The other thing that I loved when you were talking about the birth was that you lit the candle and that you were sitting there in the dark. And so you put yourself in the birth room energetically, even though you weren't there physically. I'm curious if you could talk about what that felt like in your body.
Peaceful and ready and available and open and in the womb and in, you know, in the setting that that they were in, really. I kind of wished I'd been in the bathtub in my house. That's what I should have done, run the bath myself. But no, it made me feel really close to where they were in the moment. My husband usually, when I get a call, he usually wakes up and he'll make me a cup of tea. And if I'm actually on my way to a birth, he'll make a sandwich and, tea to go and all of that. But this time I didn't want him to wake up. I didn't want him to, be part of that, sending me out the door. So I got to which is what I say to my clients too, when you go into labor, if it's the middle of the night, just go down and, if you can't sleep, then, let your partner sleep and just be with what's happening in your body in the moment. And because you're going to need him a little bit later, in full force. So yeah, no, it was beautiful. It was really nice to be able to sort of be cozy in my own bed and not have to drive up there, and not in my own, living room, and not have to drive, a distance. So, and as you were saying, spinning babies, I mean, I doing this virtually, I was a little nervous about doing. I do it with my clients in person all the time, every prenatal visit. And so I was like, how am I going to be able to do this? But, Gail has sent some, lots of encouragement to all of us out here teaching this stuff. The parent educator class, not the training. And I was able to do it, like in the last week, I was able to teach 2 virtual spinning babies classes, which was a shocker for me. And my husband got to be the pregnant lady. He got to wear the pregnant, where we put a pillow in, and he got to be my pregnant model, which was really cool. He was a good sport.
I love it. See, we're doing it. We're really doing it.
Yeah, it's very possible. All of this is very possible.
And what you shared about, what you were feeling in the moment when you were in your living room and cozy. I mean, you're holding space, right? You're holding space for birth to unfold naturally as it should. You're holding space for that oxytocin flow. You're holding space. And the fact that you can feel it, again, your clients can feel it. And so you said the labor started around 1:30 and they gave birth around 3:30. What did you do during that time? Were you just sitting in the presence of,
I just hung out. I didn't, like I say, I don't really talk much. What was hard for me, when you're in a birth room, you're hyper vigilant. When she's going to throw up, and so you grab the barf bag, and when she's, got tension, and you just simply put your hand on her shoulder, or on her forehead, or I mean, I really don't say much at all. So it was actually. That wasn't very different. It was just hard not to be able to see her from a distance and see what she was going through.
Yeah.
But I knew that I was there on the tub, on the phone line, and I knew that if they needed something, they knew that too, that I was right there. And they didn't. I feel like we had done so much prenatally that she and he knew exactly what to do. And they had an amazing midwife, and an incredible midwife who really, truly also just held space for her to do what she needed to do. So.
And I know the system in Switzerland is different, as you were telling us earlier. However, I also want to point out that this wasn't a hospital. This wasn't even a home birth, right? And going into a hospital, especially now when there's so much fear and anxiety, and to be able to have that kind of really calm and connected experience, this is really hopeful. This is such a beautiful, hopeful story. I'm so grateful that you're here sharing this with us. Now, you shared with me something which I just loved about the music they were playing and what was going on. Do you want to share that? Because I think
you can hear it, and it's playing in the background, actually. Yeah, I just thought it was so darn cool. She told me that the music that she was playing, I complimented her on how amazing the music was, and she said, we used that music when we were making love, and I just thought, she said it helps it, birth is sexual and sensual, and it just helped me to get into the groove of that sensual place. And I just was like, you totally rock. You're amazing.
Brilliant.
Brilliant, amazing. And you asked me, do you usually do that with clients? And I was like, nope, but I will now.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing. I think we all, these anchors like scents absolutely are amazing during birth. If you use scents to prepare yourself during pregnancy for labor and use those as anchors, absolutely. I talk about my music to my clients all the time and what they want and what they might not want. And but funny enough, never made the connection of using it as an anchor, between sexuality, sensuality, and birth. And oh my God, I am so grateful to this client for that gift, because hopefully now I can pass that on to other clients. So.
It is so brilliant, because this is one of the ways that we can prepare, whether we're in a pandemic or not, right? We can start to create these connections in our bodies to our sensuality and our sexuality, and bring those connections into the birthing room. So while some women are going to be completely comfortable accessing their sexual nature in the birthing room, I think a lot of women are not comfortable, especially in a hospital, to be overtly sexual. So creating these kinds of pathways and connections and touchstones it's such a powerful way to prepare.
Absolutely.
To access, that sensation in the body.
No, it's an honor to actually have her teach me that. So I'm grateful. I'm always learning. I think it was Michelangelo that said at the age of 87, ancora imparo, which means in Italian, I'm still learning. And, as a doula, I just think we're always learning something from our clients, something in the birth room, something virtually, something. And if we're open to that, man, it's pretty cool.
It is really cool. And you highlighted so many beautiful tips for how we can support our clients virtually. I just want to run through some of the ones I wrote down. First of all, like creating that ritual space, even where you are, to be able to connect energetically. I love how you lit that candle and held that energetic space. The planning ahead of time, really planning and preparing our clients ahead of time so that they have those anchors when they go into the birthing room. And and creating those connections like we talked about. I'm wondering if there's anything else that really stands out to you that you would want to share for other doulas in terms of like how do we support our clients in this way?
Yeah, absolutely. The thing that came to mind as I was sitting there was, when I'm in the room, a week later, I had a conversation with another client, and we were talking about the things that he might need in the birth room, the things that I use the most. When I was a new doula, I took a whole lot of stuff, and now pretty much I use like 3 or 4 things in my birth bag. A straw, for obvious reasons, when she's really in deep labor, and the partners are like, a straw, what for? But they're hard to find in Swiss hospitals, so I always make sure I have a straw. So I think creating like a birth kit for our clients, either just telling them what to make sure they have in their bags, or actually creating a little care package for them to send to them, to have the little things that they might actually use. So a straw, a fan when she's pushing and getting really, really warm, and those hormones are really doing their thing. What was the thing? A fan, straw, I lost it. But the other things that I do when I first get there, and massage oil. But the thing that I search for when I first get to the hospital, 2 things: a washcloth. I want to know where the washcloths are, and I also want to know where the barf bags are, so that those are handy, and so that they know that these things are normal. They will need to be cooled down, and they will need to, it's possible that she'll need to throw up. So to have kind of, I didn't ever think of giving the partner those tools, just because I have them. Yeah. But if I'm not going to be in the room, I know the sort of basic things that she will need to help her, feel more comfortable. And so just to give those to him or her, to support the birthing person, you know, in the moment is really a good idea. So I think, yeah, creating some sort of care package to send them with oils and, you know, just like a gift that makes them feel like you are totally still with them. This little, he can pull this little, or she can pull this little
Yeah.
package out and use it.
Yeah, and really
That's it,
empowering
yeah.
the partners in that way. I love that.
Yeah.
I love the idea of empowering the partners for those physical aspects that you
Yeah.
might not be able to provide in that moment.
Exactly. Yeah, and I was just thinking, you know, just making sure that, you know, the practical things, if you are going to support people virtually, then you need to make sure that that the equipment will work. You know, do you have the, you know, a battery enough, a cable to make sure that you know, that everything is charged properly. Will a tripod, if you're just using a phone, you want to be hands-free. You don't want to have to, you know, the partner doesn't want to have to. I mean, I did this particular birth. I was there just on the phone, not, like I said, not virtually, not with video. But if you are there with video, you can see more, you can assess more, you can, you know, give more suggestions. And that requires equipment that's, you know, that's accessible and easy for everybody and isn't going to be moved around too much, or can be moved around a bit. So I think it's really important to get, you know, if this is a plan, I mean, this particular birth was sort of, you know, spontaneous, shall we say, as we doulas are. I do things best by the seat of my pants. I'm a doula after all. But I think in future, I will make sure that if we do things virtually, that you know, that those practical things are you know, really planned out, and that there won't be any surprises.
So almost like you could create a checklist, make sure these things are taken
Absolutely.
care of, make sure these
Yeah.
things are charged, you
Yeah.
know, for before the birth, and then at the birth, make sure
Yeah.
you have these things. That's such a practical and useful tip. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
You also made me think when you were talking about like empowering the partners. A lot of times when we work with clients in ecstatic birth, a lot of that is body training, right? So a lot of that is learning how to access the flow of pleasure in your body to support you in labor and delivery. And one of the things we work on ahead of time is, where do you hold your fear? Where do you hold your resistance, right? So we all have different patterns. For me, I go like this a lot, or I might hold in my hip. So that could be another thing, like just as you get clear on your patterns in your birth preparation, sharing those things with your partner, so that your partner, if your doula is not there, your partner can say to you, hey, check in with your hip, open that part. Or I have a lot of my mamas also make like little cheat sheets for their partners of what the things that they want to hear, right? So a lot of times as doulas, we might be sharing mantras or words of encouragement. So another thing that women can do is really have those mantras, those words of the things that they know that will help them, share that with your partner.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, really good idea.
Yeah, and your doula over the phone virtually. So this is we're doing this. Like this is
Anybody out there who wants to do this can do it, and step out of your comfort zone. It's tough for us who are feelers and touchers and huggers and, you know, connectors. And the social distancing words, yes, we need to be social distancing, but we need to be physical distancing more than social distancing, and those words feel a little off to me, but yeah, just we need to connect, and we can do this for sure.
And not only can we do it, I would think that and this time your clients need you more than ever. Even Absolutely. If you can't be there physically, just having that emotional support, having you holding space, I think it's more necessary than ever.
And that's exactly what this client said. She was like, your support prenatally was invaluable. It was just because there was, in the last sort of 24 hours before she actually went into labor, there was so much back and forth, and home birth, hospital birth, hospital birth, with hospital birth, with Mitch, you know, there's a lot of sort of and which shouldn't be before you go into labor. And so we did a lot of just, you know, centering and helping her to find her, you know, her center. And her decision was her decision at the last minute. And so, you know, I just supported her in it. And it was, yeah, it was such an honor, and yeah, to be part of something so sacred.
Yeah, and I mean, really, you're just such a gift. I want to reflect that back to you because it's not just support, like being able to take someone who's anxious and worried, and especially in this climate, and keep bringing them back to their center, keep bringing them back to, their calm place. It's really a really important and invaluable gift in this time. So thank you. And thank you so much, Mary, for coming and sharing this story and inspiring others. I really hope that those of you watching now or later will really take it to heart that as a doula, your work is needed now more than ever, and you can do this virtually. And I hope you got some good points of inspiration and some really practical tips as well to support you in supporting your clients.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. It was just a joy to be here. And yeah, feel free to reach out, anybody who has questions.
What's the best way for people to reach you, Mary?
We are marycallow.com. And I also have another website, thebirthretreat.com. And yeah, they're Facebook. I'm on Facebook, Mary Callow. So yeah, would love to connect anytime.
Yeah. So I'll put those links in with the nuggets that we shared, and so everyone that can that watches us can access them as well.
We really need to support each other. It's this work, like you said, is more important now than ever. Yeah. Thanks, Sheila.
Thank you so much, Mary. Thank you, everyone, for watching.
Kisses from Switzerland.
Lots of love.
Bye.